Welcome to the Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. What is leverage? Leverage is a strategic advantage. It's the power to act effectively. It means that you're bringing something to the table more than potential. It means that you've got some songs that have already been written and cut, and that publisher's going to want to talk to you, that you're attractive to them. It means that you've got an audience as an artist, and those labels are interested because they think they can pour a little money on it and make some more. Or that's how you're going to get your booking agent. That's how you're going to get your manager. It's not going to be from your talent. It's going to be from leverage in today's music business, and that's why we called it The Climb, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. And my genius friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, came up with that one, Mr. Wordman. And lyricist.
Word nerd.
The word nerd, yeah. And Brent's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And Brent also helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro, and then on the regular, he gives you opportunities to get in front of the pros. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. Daredevil has created over 25 national TV opportunities for their indie artists by making them discoverable. They've created multiple tour opportunities, and through the power of digital marketing data, yes, I said digital marketing data, sexy, they've attracted a number of investors for their artists. They've attracted investors because investors like numbers, because numbers can't lie because they don't talk. But
that's right.
The investors listen to them anyway. And so you can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. This production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Well, what's happening, my brother? How are you?
I'm tired. We are recording this at night. If I seem a little more subdued, it's probably because it's nighttime. And I worked today and used my brain today, then chased kids today. And little Hazel her bedroom's right below my office. And if I wake her up, I die.
There you go. Okay.
So,
how's little Hazel doing? She's doing all right?
She's doing all right. She's doing better. You know, she had a little cold for a while. She was extra grouchy, but the last couple of days she's been in a better mood. So, we don't feel the need to lock her outside the house as much. We don't, but at times we thought about it. But she's being a lot more personable these days. She's still Hurricane Hazel. She's still very, very busy. But
Hurricane Hazel.
Yeah, but she's
a great band
nicer about it.
Say that?
Hurricane Hazel. The Sister Hazel. It's Hurricane Hazel.
Hurricane Hazel's cooler than Sister Hazel.
Well, yeah.
It's got more power.
We like her. We like her. Yeah, but she's a force of destruction and chaos. But she's doing well. Thanks for asking.
All right. Well, right on. Well, God bless her. I know how she feels. I had the flu last week. So if I still get a little bit of that cough, forgive me. I'll try to mute out every time I do it. But
I got to tell you. Okay. So this is gross. I'm going to tell you how Hazel's doing tonight. Okay. She had spaghetti.
Uh-huh.
And she's, got a little bit of the cold and stuff left. And she started sneezing. I'm like, what is that sticking out of her nose? That's not a boogie. Oh my gosh. That's a noodle. Emily, come here.
That's a college dorm trick.
And so, yeah, Chris Angel, mind freak. I sneezed the spaghetti out of my nose. And so sure enough,
oh my gosh,
get it. And all the kids are gathering around. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I'd never want to eat spaghetti again. And so I'm trying to get it right. But then it crawls back up. We're like, we missed it, because I wasn't going to barehand it. And then a couple minutes later, she sneezes twice and it's out. And it's like 2 inches long.
Right.
Spaghetti noodle out of her nose. I'm like, that is special. How did that hang out there for like an hour after dinner? Just wait.
That's going to make you $20 in college one day. But right now,
there we go. Let's get a picture and it's on my wife's Instagram.
So, hey, here's what that's really good, by the way. Picture that.
Noodle nose. Yeah.
You know what we're going to talk about today? We're going to talk about most things can be solved.
All right. Most things can be solved.
There's a solution.
That's positive. I like it.
And people like songwriters and indie artists, they got real problems. And these problems, they got solutions. They can be solved. But it's got to be a process that occurs before they can be solved. But
if they can get Apollo 13 and Tom Hanks back from like space, they can. Right? You can solve.
Now these are some solutions distributors, NASA.
Right.
Like I actually did a presentation at Boeing where they built the space shuttle. Man, that dude told me, he's like, Johnny, did you know that what was the Apollo one that made it to the moon and came back? He said, we did that with less digital computing power than the cheap, like $3 digital watch that you can buy on the beach.
Yeah, that's crazy.
From like a vendor.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's sick. Yeah.
How crazy is that? This is what we're going to talk about, like how to get what you need, to get what you want, and move forward in your artist career as a songwriter or your artist career as an indie artist. But before we do that, take care of a little business. As always here, the C.L.I.M.B podcast is proud to partner with disc makers. They've been supporting indie musicians before indie music was even a thing. And when you're ready to make CDs, DVDs, vinyl, or distribute your music and videos with customized USBs, which are super cool, by the way, discmakers.com, DISC makers.com is the only place that you need to go.
That's right. And while you're there, click on the Guides and Resources tab and download some of their excellent free guides. They've just revised and expanded their home studio handbook, which has a ton of great advice and information for newbies and studio veterans. You can find them online at www.discmakers.com or give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
That's right. And as always, guys, join the C.L.I.M.B community if you haven't already. This is a growing, thriving, and quite frankly, relatively busy little Facebook community. It's not your normal Facebook community where nothing happens. All kinds of questions being asked, all kinds of questions being answered by the community. Brent and I are chiming in.
People are sharing wins and celebrating each other.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And getting some music out there, like in the right times, in the right places, and behaving and stuff. So that's really cool. So just ask to be let in. It is a closed community. We let everybody in that asks, but we just want to make sure that we keep it tight and that full of
we
people.
Don't spam, we jam.
That's right. Full of people that want to be there.
Exactly.
Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you get all the episodes and the minisodes in order. Very easy. 5 seconds. Leave a rating and review. That is makes our day, by the way. We love reading that stuff, and we'll read them on the air. We'll make you famous. And then finally, the best gift you could give us, if this is really resonating with you, if you're really finding value in this, then share it. Tell somebody about it. Put it out on your social media. Say why you liked it. Just be honest. That is what is going to turn people on. That's real social proof. That spreads the word and gets us to more people, which is why we're doing what we're doing. So there you go.
And, speaking of those reviews,
yes,
we have a review we'd like to share. This is a tasty 5-star review by Lillian Glanton, and it's titled, I love this podcast. Straight and to the point. I like it. It says, hey, y'all, my name is Lillian Glanton, and I'm a young singer-songwriter from Muscle Shoals, Alabama. This podcast has transformed my songwriting career. I continue to learn something new every time I listen. I am so thankful for your knowledge and wisdom. I apply these tips to my songwriting career every day. Thanks again, Lillian Glanton, at Lillian Glanton. Put her social on there. Look at her. If you want to find Lillian, Lillian Glanton, Glanton, you can tell her you're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian.
What I love about that is she's like, I am a young singer-songwriter, and talking about her career. I have no idea how young she is. She could be like 12. But I just love the fact that she's like, not I want to have a career, not what it's like I'm young and I have a career.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
love
this is changing my career. Like, right?
Exactly.
It's happening. It's happening right now. Get out of her way.
Yeah. Love it, Lillian. Thank you. Rock on.
Right on. So let's dig into this here. Most things can be solved. It's one issue after the other. It's one problem after the other. You're never going to, talked about this in prior episodes, you're never going to walk out onto the field and not have a defense, right? You don't get to play the Super Bowl and just keep throwing touchdown passes like with nobody to try to defend it.
Yeah. Who are these guys hitting me in the face? Where'd they come from? Yeah, it's part of the game.
There's a solution for everything, but the reason I wanted to touch on this is that it doesn't stop for indie artists, and frankly, I just keep watching the same slow car wreck happen in the industry too, where they just are, everybody's frustrated. It's not working the way it used to work, but we keep doing the same things we used to be doing, and it's kind of not working, right? Like we got a blessing in 2018 when streaming came back, which is good. So that is, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good thing, but it's sitting, you know why everybody feels really good about that? Because, oh, now we're back to making money selling records, and it's just a different way to do that, and we can focus on, like, still missing the boat, right? Still missing the point. So when you're frustrated And if your intention as an indie artist, or as I always include songwriters as artists, as a songwriter, is to get your music heard, then you need to, it's different than the way it used to be. For songwriters and for indie artists, it just what happened 10 years ago, what worked 15 years ago, isn't what's working today. That gets us frustrated. That gets us feeling a little down, a little bad, in a negative space. And when you start focusing on the negative energy, you're focused on being a victim. And then what are you not doing, Brent?
When you're focused on being a victim, you're not focused on solutions, finding solutions.
Because you have found one, right? Here's why I'm a victim.
Well, yeah, that's the solution. That's why I'm off the hook.
Right. Yeah.
Is because I'm a victim. And what they say, if you're so focused on the closed door, that won't open, you sometimes miss the open window right next to it.
Yeah. And I think from a victim thing, like sometimes we're ashamed, right? As artists, we've been told by people in our lives whose opinion we value that we're never going to make it, that we should have a backup plan. We should have these other things going on.
They'll be responsible, grow up.
Yeah, as if this is irresponsible, right? But I don't think that or Shane McAnally's parents think he's irresponsible, or that
Not at this point,
Tim McGraw's parents think he's irresponsible, or,
Right.
I mean, they seem to be doing okay, right?
Yeah.
But I think what happens is, like, when we get into that victim thing, like you said, it lets us off the hook of our shame. Right? Oh, okay, well, now it's not my fault that I didn't do this, but there's still, are you interested in not feeling that shame, or are you interested in succeeding doing this and finding a way to make it happen, and creating a road for yourself, an avenue for yourself? And are you interested in a solution? Because the victim mentality also means, okay, now I just don't have to spend any more time thinking about it, right? Which means, and what the victims are thinking about is worrying about it, right? But stop, let's start thinking about it with some critical thinking, and get to someplace good. Because if you're not spending any energy on the solution, you're spending zero time trying to figure out that solution, and no solution is discovered. And this is how you die. This is how you die as a artist. This is how you die as a member of society, as a bright light. And this is how, frankly, that you could actually physically die. And we're going to talk about that and get a little dark for a second, but it's really cool. Most things can be solved. There is a solution for everything, but oftentimes that things are not what they seem. Your cognitive bias, the way you're processing information, and this is important to note that for both songwriters and for indie artists, you have to be careful about the information that you're getting. It's really exciting to get a really good in with somebody that's high up, maybe at a level that you haven't ever talked to before. But I'm always a little worried because the information is skewed, right? Those people are brilliant. They're geniuses. They're a lot of them are multimillionaires, and they know exactly what they did in the old music business, but everybody's sucking in the new music business right now. So they're not doing it, right? They're not doing it effectively. They're not doing it like the machine that they used to do it. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to be aware, like, okay, this might not be right. This might be right. Like when that songwriter told you, Brent, I think you're a hit songwriter in 1995.
You've been one of the biggest writers in town in the 90s.
Right. Yeah. And here, this might be a situation where this guy's spot on if it was 1995, but it's not. You got to learn the facts. You've got to learn the facts of the reality, the facts of the reality, and then formulate a plan. I'm going to ask you a question, Brent. When you've been to the ocean, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what happens with the water at the ocean. Okay. Like, what do you see? What do you hear? You're standing on the beach, right where the waves are coming in. Like, what do you see? What's happening with the water?
It's coming in waves.
That's right.
Yeah. It's splashing on my toesy toes.
There you go.
It's coming in. It's going back out.
That's right.
Carrying stuff in it.
So you said something interesting that most people miss, right? Is because it just looks like it's coming in. Right now, the tides come in and the tides go out, so we think of it that way.
Yeah.
But we don't think about with every single wave that comes in, if it just kept coming in until the tide went out, the whole city would flood.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So every single wave that comes in, there's a wave that goes out.
Yeah.
But we don't see that. That happens under the water, and that's called a riptide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a really strong current.
Which is also a fun Robert Palmer album, by the way. I have the cassette somewhere.
I love that record.
Anyway.
By the way. And I think a really, really cheesy subversion of, what was that Pamela Anderson beach movie with
Baywatch?
Yeah, it's like I think Riptide is like a really crappy version of like a. If Baywatch could get worse, I think they made it and it was called Riptide.
Wow,
it was more
That's
cheesy.
amazing.
Yeah,
that's a lot of dairy.
That's a lot of dairy. So we don't see the water going out, and it's a really strong current that's heading outwards as opposed to inwards. And if you don't understand how the waves and the riptides work together, because and think about that, I was like sort of researching what I'm going to say here at the podcast tonight. And I was just like, well, that makes so much sense. How come the water keeps coming in, but the shore keeps going away? Like eroding, like where's it going? You know, like it's interesting, right? Many people every year drown because they don't understand the riptide. Mm-hmm. When you're swimming out in the ocean and let's say you're there, everything's cool. And then all of a sudden you look up a minute later and you're 3 times farther out than where you were a second ago. What's the typical knee-jerk reaction?
Swim direct line, straight line to the shore.
Right, because I gotta get.
That's where I'm going. Shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, so I'm going to swim straight the way I came, straight back to the shore.
That's right.
I feel good. I feel like I'm in science class. I think I know this one. Okay,
right. There you go. That's what your eyes are telling you, and that's what you think you know about the situation. Right now, you're panicking a little bit. You're scared of getting too far out. But the more you swim towards the shore, farther from it you get.
Yeah, it's not working.
Anybody feel like that in their career right now? Anybody out there feel like that in your career? You're working your butt off trying to swim, right? This is how people drown. They become exhausted trying to swim against, and they're not even making progress. They're actually going backwards.
Yeah. Every
single stroke, they're getting more and more exhausted. And then next thing you know, it's all over. You're working. You feel like you're working. You feel like you've put a solution together that's going to make it happen. You're expending tons of energy, right? Mm-hmm. But you're making it worse. How is this possible? If you take a second and you calm your brain and apply some critical thinking and look for a solution, you'll see that the riptide is taking you out, and it's not too difficult, even though it's counterintuitive, to know that if your goal is to get to the shore, which of course it is, you need to swim parallel to the shore.
Right. You need to basically swim sideways.
You need to swim sideways and get out of the riptide.
Take a right or a left because the riptide is going straight out. And if you swim to the right or the left, you'll get out of the riptide, and then it's easier to swim back.
And then which way is the water going?
Then it's coming in
towards the shore. Yeah. So now all of a sudden you're it's like trying to walk the wrong way on an escalator, right? Yeah. And then you turn around, you're like, oh, actually like I'm moving, just being here. And then if I actually start to walk, I can move even faster towards the place that I want to go. Mm-hmm. I sound like Jerry Seinfeld right now. What's the deal with the riptide? So it seems simple. A lot of people don't know it. I mean, every year people die from it because they don't know what to do. But this is what's happening in the new music industry right now. Mm-hmm. When the song comes first, because for the last 90 years we've been pushing radio, that's been the delivery mechanism of choice for the drug that we call music. That's how we've blown up an artist brand. That's how we've launched an artist brand, is on radio. And what comes first?
Music.
The song comes
shove it down my throat on MTV or radio. So what happens, Brent, in the music industry back in the day when you've got a song, you've got a label, and you get on the radio, and let's say it just doesn't do what it's supposed to do? Maybe get in the top 100. It didn't do well. Well, I mean, the old way, they may do another record, try again.
Let's say even the first single. Yeah, try again. Maybe another single. Yeah. Maybe the second one will hit it, Yeah. Let's try it again. And so they put another song on the radio. Okay. And typically, the road, the arc, the map to creating a brand name that is a profitable business in the music industry used to take like 3 records. There's, of course, a lot of exceptions to the rule, but It's typically, I mean, Bon Jovi's third record was the big one that made money. Springsteen's big one that made money. Def Leppard, on and on and on. So the first one, you're kind of losing a little bit of money on that, but you were in front of eyeballs. Yeah. People know who you are.
They know that's part of the business.
Yeah, and
label knows.
And you didn't sell enough records to make all the money back, but you did grow your audience.
Yes.
Right. And then the next record comes out, but that's the next solution, right? Make another record.
Yeah.
Because we've grown the audience as much as we're going to be able to grow it. We're out of singles, right? On this budget, maybe 1 or 2 songs, maybe 3 if it did kind of good. But you're still in the hole. You're still not profitable. And then it's time to make some more art. Okay. And we go and put that out there. So this is the old record business, the way it worked. And to your point, Brent, it was shoved down people's throats, right? Nobody ever woke up in the morning and said, I wonder what artist I'm going to discover today on the radio that I've never heard of that's going to become the soundtrack of my life.
Right.
That's going to change my life forever. Like, who could they be? What would their name be? No. What do they want to hear?
Yeah. My jam.
They want to hear their jam. They want to hear what they know. That's so people, by the way, there's a consistent behavior. We've always just wanted to hear the same thing.
Yeah.
Our jam, right? So I'm helping, I'm going through this again to try to get you guys to try to find the Riptide so that if you're spending all your money and exhausting yourself financially or exhausting your investors financially, if you're exhausting yourself physically and exhausting your team physically, emotionally, and spiritually, because you keep swimming against the Riptide, it's not going to last. It's not sustainable, right? You have to see you have to see the needle move.
Yeah.
And every single week, I'll get an email, I get this, I get that. Hey, can you help us out? I look first, no socials, right? Really, really weak. We're working on the new record. Okay. What does the old record sound like? I mean, was there an epiphany? Like, is there something that, did you learn how to make it work? Because that's possible, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly the case with the Lonely Highway Boys we're working with now. I mean, that first thing they put out, they did that. They didn't have a producer. They just said, we're making a record. And they went and they did it. And they made it happen. They wrote some cool songs. But now it's being produced and that's going to be the epiphany, right? Possible. But usually it's not. Usually these artists are pretty good. And I'm talking about like seasoned artists, Brent, that can make some money, that are like have a local presence and stuff, but still just doing it the way it used to be done, swimming against that Riptide, not solving any problems. I don't have it available anymore, but I used to have a Twitter book that was kind of relevant like 4 years ago, and I gave it away for free. I remember when I wrote that book and I did put it up on Amazon, but I just gave it away. I remember my mom asking me, like, what are you doing that for? Why don't you sell it? And I'm well, because
you're like, it's too valuable to sell it.
Yeah. Like you put all that work into it. Like, where's your ROI? Right.
Yeah.
Like how can you do that? And so she's old school, right? She doesn't understand how the digital marketing community works. And then where are the cash registers? They're in different places now. Right. It's not as important that you make money on a book or on a record. What is important is, did you grow your audience? And are they connected to you? Because that's what people want to pay for.
Yeah.
And that's intangible, right? I just had a meeting last weekend with an artist, like a duo. They're fantastic. They're all these things that are great, but very thinking about it old school. And they're like, well, I mean, what besides from growing our audience with some warm, fuzzy feelings and a bigger ego, what does that do? Well, there's things you haven't even thought of yet,
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on them. This is what everybody thinks, right?
Yeah.
Except for the ones that know. Right?
Yeah.
How the Riptide works. It's focus on the audience, focus on the audience, focus on the audience. If you can scrape up a budget to do a second record, and that second record might be artistically an arc for you, which is awesome. That's great. But it's for you. You don't have an audience that's going to follow that arc.
Right.
They still haven't heard the first one.
Yeah.
But if it's competitive, that first one's competitive and it's done, you're spending the money in the wrong place. You're swimming against the Riptide, right? You need to be marketing that. You need to be growing that audience. And the more the audience grows, the more the social proof happens, the more cooler it becomes to be a part of your tribe. And then if you're doing your job and you're interacting with them I used to date a woman that she had a regular job, and she would kind of like, when she was upset with me, she'd get a little mean and she'd pick on me for playing on Facebook all day. I'm like, getting paid to do it. Like it was a plaything, but that's a real litmus test of the mentality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're just screwing around on social media, man. No. Like, every one of our artists, it's funny. Like, I'll tell them this and they joke and they laugh. And then it happens to every single one of them if they stick with me long enough, which most of them do. But I'll be like, we're going to start growing your audience. Your job is you've got to interact with them. It's got to be authentic, So talk to everybody that talks to you. And just do that. Promise me you're going to do that and we'll grow it. Okay. I set them up. You knock them down. Okay. And then 7 months later, Johnny, it's getting to be a little bit of like a kind of a full-time job. Like, I'm like, yeah. And they're overwhelmed. They're coming from a place of like, I don't know what to do. And my answer is like, you're welcome.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But this is how you cultivate that. This is where the attention has to go. Creating more art is going to scratch that artistic itch. God bless. Not going to get you another audience because you don't have a pipeline like the radio where it's force-fed and people are going to be exposed to it. You're the one that has to expose it.
Yeah.
And that costs money. And that takes time. Lots of time.
It does, yeah. It's interesting. I've started doing Facebook Lives. Usually on Monday, I have a new blog post comes out. So I was like, I share these blog posts out to different, Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. And let's just try to change it up. Let's do something a little more interactive. So I normally do a Facebook Live around noon or 1 o'clock or something where I share some of what the post is about. I don't just read it, but I link to it and talk about it. Then I take some Q&A from people. And it's hard to tell what's real views and what's just somebody scrolled and stopped long enough to see my face move. But it seems to be, I know I get a lot of interaction when I'm live.
Yeah.
I get a lot of comments more than if I just like, hey, y'all, here's a great blog post. Boom. I'm out there, I'm talking to people, I'm taking questions, and I'm jamming with people. And, so I'm studying up and trying how to do this effectively. Still a newbie at it. But, one thing people say is like, hey, it's good to say howdy to people that are, you see them pop on. Hey, Billy. Hey, Janie. Hey, and thanks for coming in and welcoming. And there's like, they will stick around longer.
Yeah.
If you say their name.
So simple.
And this is what we're talking about. It's that interaction. It gets their attention because people love to be recognized, and you are thankful that they're there. So that's not fake. I know in my case, I'm glad I'm not just talking into the ether. Yeah, I'm glad somebody's there to talk to. So it's legitimate that you're thankful they're there, but just being mindful of saying thank you and calling them by name. They're like, yeah, people will stick around longer and they get more of your message that way. So same kind of thing, I think.
I think it's exactly the same thing. By the way, I'm really proud of you for that. I see those all the time. All the time. I'm like, there's another Brent live. There's another one. Sometimes I'll have 3 in my feed. I'm like, look, this is, what are you talking about?
I just try to do about once a week, but encourage people to share them, and they get it. It's true. They get more. They get more, comments and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they get more organic love, the more comments, especially with comments now with Facebook, because that's what Facebook wants. They want to have that post and then all kinds of activity underneath that post going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, because they know it's real and they know that people are interested in it.
Yeah. Understanding this, read these books, shift your focus. If you are focused on radio, trying to get on radio, it's a bad focus.
Yeah.
Okay. Radio is still very powerful, but for the artist that has a brand name already. So not for you. Like, that's not where you're going to launch from. It's not radio anymore. That's a dream. Right. Got it. And it used to be the way that it always happened. Now it's not. It's not. So focusing on that. Oh my goodness. I just, so many times that people are like, well, we just spent another big stinky check on radio. Well, that's great. We got up to number 38. Awesome. So that number 38 on the chart, what'd that get you?
It's hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you selling more tickets? No. Did you streaming more? No. Did anything happen that changed anything? No. Who heard it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It kills me to think someone spends, I don't know, I'm just pulling out a number. I have no idea what budgets are like, but $30,000, right?
Yeah.
Radio promo, which, if you're compared to the majors, that's nothing.
Right.
But for normal people, that's a whole lot. And spend $30,000 and you get some spins, and then it's like Kaiser Sose, gone.
Yes.
Yes. And then it's like, if you spent $30,000 on social media engagement, targeted Facebook posts, like, you've been learning about and stuff, Johnny, it's like how much of your audience you could reach that's relevant, and you can capture their information, and then you can have a conversation with them
and develop a relationship. Oh my God. So on that note,
it's not as sexy, right? You can't, you're not going to have a big Instagram post of like, thank you, so-and-so, rural and rhythm radio chart for I'm 182. Thanks for the love. You don't get that, but
you
get
to
fans.
say that one time, but you know what? Like,
Right.
spent that money like growing your social media and either getting yourself educated about it and diving deep, or hiring a service that knows what they're doing with it. And there's still a lot of people that don't know what they're doing with it either. I mean, most of the places in town are ridiculous. Like, honestly, it's they don't get it. They're not aggressive with it. But let's look at some numbers like that. We say in the beginning of this show now that numbers don't lie because the numbers can't talk. What's a P1 radio? P1 radio is, for those of you who don't know, that's primary market radio. That's New York, that's Nashville, that's LA, that's Houston, that's Chicago, that's the big cities, okay? Mm-hmm. They're going to reach millions of people. They have a far bigger audience. That's why they have more power. That's why they cost more money. Mm-hmm. P1 radio single, record label's going to write a check. How much?
Working a single is at least $1 million, I imagine.
Yeah, well, it's a good 500,000.
A good 500. Okay,
500,000 for a single. You might spend a little bit more if the artist is out on radio tour with it, because you got to move the artist and the team and fly them and put them up, and you're taking the station out to dinner and trying to get them to love you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking newer artists and stuff. Yeah, you're gonna.
Yeah, that's right. So $500,000. Now you got to go coast to coast. Right? Mm-hmm. Because you need every spin from every station to get one spin. Could be the difference between at the right time. It could be the difference between, like, could be 3 spots. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you've got to eat the whole elephant at the same time. Yeah. Right? Brent, what's the normal life of a single? I know they vary, but just generalized.
I mean, they're going up and coming down faster, I think. Gosh, I don't even know what it is right now, to be honest. I mean, it's because it oscillates, It used to be fly up and fly down, then they slowed it down, and now it's some artists like Luke Bryan fly up and fly down.
Yeah, well,
others take forever.
And the songwriter's like, no, take your time, because every spin is more money in the bank. Right?
Exactly. Please climb up the charts for 84 weeks, then hit number 1.
Yeah, let's do the slow run. It's good 6 months. Right? It's going to take
I would say so, yeah.
to happen. And some of them will take a lot longer. But if they keep getting more and more spins and more ads, the label will put more and more money into it. And because they seem to be gaining some ground, and
they got a bullet.
And that's right. When it's done, like, what do you know?
What do you know? You know your chart position.
Yep.
And whether or not you can use that for social proof, I guess.
Yeah. let's take
but you don't know
Maddie and Tay. Or I'll tell you what, there's a slew of artists, whatever, didn't get enough number ones, right? Mm-hmm. Let's that had 1 or 2 number one. Like number one, I'm talking number ones on P1 radio, right? That had a couple of them. Some names. I know some names. We don't have to mention any names, but they had like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 number ones in their record label career. Who heard it?
Which is more than most.
Right, more than most. Awesome. Yeah. And they still get to go out and play a little bit, right? And
county fairs and stuff, probably,
That's right. So it made some impact there, for sure. Mm-hmm. When you get a number one, it makes some impact. Yeah. You don't know who, right?
Right.
That's $500,000. Okay. Now, if the song doesn't work, it's a $500,000 mistake, right?
Yeah.
And you got to try again. And what's the cost to try again?
$500,000.
Another $500,000, right? And you hope that this one does good. But you got a lot of work to do, because now already all the program directors are kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You go to digital. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is what we're going to do the long line. I'm just going to tell you part of our strategy right now. I'm going to reveal this is going to happen right here on the air.
All right. Here we go.
Let's say you take $300,000 That's 60% of a P1 radio single.
Mm-hmm.
You go digital. Now, we've done some video campaigns where the cost with Facebook was a penny per 10-second view. That's a cost benchmark metric, right? Mm-hmm. So that means for $300,000, if it costs a penny, I can get you in front of 30 million people.
Yeah.
But
30 million 10-second views.
Yeah, right. I don't have to go coast to coast. I can go in a corner of the country. I can go regional. Mm-hmm. What if I got in front of 6 million people or 5 million people 6 times? Mm-hmm. Because when they see that view, when somebody sees that view, even if it's for 10 seconds, if it's for 25% of the video, 50% of the video, 75, Facebook breaks out who saw it, how much they saw it for, then you can target them again. You can put something new in that exact feed, already knowing that they watched you for, say, 50% of a video. Mm-hmm. So they've seen your face. They're now familiar with you. They don't know you, but you look familiar to them. It's not a cold audience now. It's called a warm audience. And you go back and hit them again a second time, right? And then you go back and you hit them a third time, and then a fourth time. And then now, next thing you know, you've done what the radio used to do. What was the big power of radio? It made the unfamiliar artist familiar. Yeah. The first time that a consumer hears the debut single from Tim McGraw on his very first record, it was really the 6th time.
Right, yeah.
Right? Because the first 5 times it just cycled through, it just went in when they're not the other. But now we know who likes it, we know who doesn't like it. And we can concentrate on a region for a lot lower money, okay? And then all of a sudden now, all the people that have Facebook feeds in that region are just like, these guys are great. Like, they're famous. Like, I see them on my feed all the time. Like, this is what's going on. Well, they're playing at your local. Well, we're going down there. Now we can raise the money up because the audiences go up at the live shows. We can jack the money up. We just doubled. And on one venue this weekend, Lonely Highway's going down to Florida. We doubled one venue, what they normally get at one venue, and we tripled another one. Tripled it. Nice. You see what we're doing here? We just shoot them down from Nashville. Go make some money. Come back. Right? It's real slow up here. On Broadway, it's real slow. Yeah. It's cold. So, what happens if you go ahead? You want to ask a question?
Oh, so that reminds me of Tim Ferriss, so the 4-Hour Workweek guy. And so when he was launching that book, he's like, okay, I don't have to be famous to everybody. I just want to be up here, basically be famous to a certain segment. Like, who's my core audience for this book? That's going to, make it, be the first tastemakers or whatever. He said, it's be like tech savvy men, ages whatever to whatever. Yeah. Okay, let me go find them, and I'm going to be everywhere they are, and I'm going to be everywhere they are. And so they're going to see me a lot. And so you could do that with a type of person, a demographic, or a state. I see stuff for like the Arkansas Country Music Awards. Yeah. I just started seeing that last year, and apparently the nominations are out again this year. And it's like, okay, Arkansas, last I heard, like 2.5 million people. It's like, you could target people in Arkansas, like if you're an Arkansas artist, and go, I want to be famous to them. Yes. And you can do that on digital without having to go to all those radio stations and try to get on enough play to get noticed. You can just keep showing up in the feed, and they, next thing,
they know who you are. They know your name. Yeah. It makes sense to them, right? Like you're playing see, this is what I'm talking about, getting out of the Riptide and looking at it a different way and spending the money a different way.
Swimming sideways.
Now, what happens if, let's say, you put together a piece of content and you go out and you start spending some money and it's just not working? They don't care. They're not responding to it. In 3 days, you might spend, depending on how you're testing it, because there's a whole lot of testing, it's sophisticated, but you might spend $180 and be like, you know what? This audience doesn't care about this. Okay, right. Let's go create something new. $180 versus 500,000.
I can swing 180.
I mean, do you see how you've got to get out of the Riptide, people? This is it. We're going a little long here, but we've got to focus on what works now. We've got to have a solution for what works now. We know what works now. We're doing it all the time with our artists. But most indie artists and most indie labels and most major labels, they're doing it on digital. They're doing it different. They're doing it like they do it on radio, like they do it on TV. And it works there. It doesn't work here. You got to go about it differently. And launch yourself digitally, and then everything else comes to you. You get an audience, you get even 40, 50,000 followers on Instagram, not difficult to do. You're going to rent cars for free for the rest of your life from enterprise. You're going to, things happen. You're going to get weird, wild phone calls from crazy people like, hey, we'll give your wife a 3 days free spa treatment if you would just do this, or
Instagram post about it or whatever.
Because you have an audience. There's the commodity. The commodity is not the record now. Mm-hmm. It's the attention. You're selling attention because you've been able to Pied Piper a bunch of different people's attention, and they're watching you, and they're engaged with you, and they think you're cool, and you're engaged back with them.
Oh, it's the same reason you do celebrity endorsements, right? It's the same. It's the same thing. It's the same reason why people pay for ads on radio or pay for ads on TV. Not what they used to, but because they have attention and eyeballs are on. If eyeballs are on you and your Instagram account, and it's enough eyeballs, somebody's willing to pay to get in front of that.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't have to be celebrity. You can be a celebrity without anybody knowing who the heck you are. Just do you have 40,000 people or 50,000 people on your followers? Yeah. Are they real? Do they like you? Are you talking with them? Is there an engagement rate that's legit? Yeah. We're willing to pay handsomely for that. Because you know what, whatever widget we're making or service we're making or whatever, we're having the same problem you are. We can't. TV and radio ain't working. We can't get in front of enough eyeballs to sell enough. So we're trying to find another way to do it. You're called an influencer if you're not famous. If you're not a celebrity.
It's being famous without being famous. But it's interesting what you said about real. So we're not talking about going out and purchasing a bunch of Instagram followers. I mean,
that's right.
I was going through a songwriter organization group, looking through their followers, and because I'm looking for people that maybe should follow me because they're into songwriting stuff. Mm-hmm. So I started looking through their followers, and they have thousands of followers, and start seeing a lot of people look like they're from India.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know if all these folks are into country songwriting.
I don't think so.
I don't know. No. That's weird. Maybe there's a big market there. They're a buttload of people. But I don't know. I'm just scrolling page. Wow, all these folks are from Indonesia. Huh.
Yeah. Or Cambodia or the Eastern Europe bloc. It's some country I can't even pronounce.
The Philippines. Yeah. I'm like, okay, maybe they don't have as many real followers as I thought they did.
See, you're
not an influencer if you're doing that. You're a purchaser.
That's right. And so where you used to be an artist and the idea was that...
And that's vanity, and that's not going to help you.
That's right. Thank you. The commodity used to be record sales, right? We got to sell the record. Mm-hmm. We got to get the music out there. The music is what's going to help you create an audience or help you keep an audience. It's what's going to make them fall in love with you. You're probably not going to create it with the music digitally unless you do something crazy like OK Go. But you've got to know the ins and the outs and the subtleties of this. But it's not, it's sophisticated. It's work. It's hard work. But it's not rocket science. But think about how long it took you to make your first record, your first EP, all the trials and tribulations and steps you went through to get to there, and then you had it done. This is the same journey. It's just now the goal should be I need an audience. I need attention from people who are going to believe in me. And that's what you're trying to create, guys. Okay, there it is. If this is starting to resonate with you finally, starting to make some sense, but you're not sure how to do it, email us for a consultation. I'll tell you all about it. I'll custom fit something for you and show you how to take the assets that you have, what's going to translate on digital, what's not, where to focus your attention, your money, and your time, and you will see the needle move. Just email us at info@daredevilproduction.com. Again, production is singular. There is no S. info@daredevilproduction.com, and put consultation in the subject line, and we'll make the needle move for you. Other than that, guys, that brings us to the end of another killer episode of The Climb. Join the Climb community. Subscribe to the podcast. Leave a 5-star rating and review. And share it.
Eat your vitamins.
Eat your vitamins. That's right. And share it.
Interact with your community.
That's right. That's right. Share it. Yeah. Get a couple new followers every single day.
Oh, I get some new followers.
Make a move every day online to reach out and say hi to somebody.
Hey, I'll be honest. Jesus is the only person that could make a world of difference with 12 followers.
That's right.
Angie, we need more. I hope you stuck around to the end of the episode to hear that, because that just happened.
That was really good, man. All right, you guys. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.